Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host, our very good friend, is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We are covering MAFS UK Season 7, Episodes 9 to 12, or Week 3, Chris. Now, where would you like to start today?
Well, Dave, interesting week, and we've caught up now, which is brilliant. So we're back on track now, guys, after my hiatus or holiday. I've got, what's been interesting? There's been a lot of drama this week, and obviously we've got people leaving, people coming, and everything. I've had a real issue with this Zoe and Jenna vegan thing, right? Now, I know we said both from our perspectives, and I know I sort of did the speaking for us, and I didn't mean to, but you got a lot of praise on Facebook about the way you approached it and the way you said it. And I think you were right. And I think, like, taking a step back, it was definitely the right call, because we've both experienced it. You was vegan a lot longer than I was. But it's become such a crux in the relationship, and I think that the experts were saying that there's more to this. This seems to be the excuse. Now, I don't like Zoe's approach to Jenna when she's sort of with the group and she's laughing and joking, because obviously she's from an environment where she's working on building sites, so it seems like she's trying to make jokes, stuff like that. But I'm sort of in Zoe's corner, because Jenna, by the sounds of it, just is relentless. She absolutely wants to get Zoe to be vegan, and I don't understand, if this was going to be such an issue, why didn't she say, I need somebody who's vegan? I know we take the piss about the show and they've got to put people together who are not compatible for the drama and all that, but it just seems like this is never ever going to work. And even when Zoe was saying, I've done vegan options and I've cooked and that, Jenna's having none of it. She's like, nope, not a chance. And when they were together, by the end of the week, I was like, these two are not going to be together. But it's a real interesting scenario, because I don't think I've ever seen on this show, and I know we've not covered it all the way through every season and across the different countries, but a couple to be on the edge of splitting up over their food choices. It's really interesting how this is going to play out.
I think it's so. What you said about the Facebook posts, I found them really interesting. And another aspect, so nothing to do with veganism, was I think it was Glenn. I think was saying about presumably Jewish, so he eats kosher.
Yeah,
but then in a group setting, people then interrogate him on it. And it's like, why do you do that? Blah blah blah, and that's bullshit. And I'd never thought that, and obviously not choosing to eat that way. I haven't experienced that myself, but I can totally get it. I guess it's just anything which is fundamentally a food choice, and people find a bit fucking weird and get suddenly really angry about it. It's just very, very strange. With Zoe and Jenna, I don't particularly sit in either of their camps. I do think, as I said to you last week, I thought initially, for me at least, I thought Zoe was handling it badly, but then Jenna was getting on about it. Now, what I'd say is, and I still sit in the middle of them. I don't particularly think one is better or worse than the other, but when Zoe's going on about the compromises she's making, she's talking about keeping the meat away from the other food, and like the last few nights she's had a vegan meal. Is that really so? Keeping the meat away from the other food, is that really like a massive compromise? Is that really putting yourself out for your partner? It's not a massive thing, really, is it? It's not like fucking actually changing anything at all. So I just think Zoe is making a massive deal about it, and there's a massive chip on her shoulder about it. But on the flip side, I do think Jenna, she has got it in her head. I can't think of a specific phrase in particular, but it comes across like she is trying to convert her. So it's like, well, you should have fucking said in the first place that, whoever you're with has to be vegan as well. And because it is more, for certain people, not for me, well, a little bit, but, I'm not trying to convert anyone. I don't give a fuck what anyone else eats. We've been through this last week. But if she's decided that's important for her, she should have fucking said it up front. Not, this is just what I do, but, my other person doesn't have to be a vegan, but I'll convert them later.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'll give her a slight out and say maybe she just didn't realise that about herself. Maybe it is important, but she didn't realise how important it was.
Yeah.
Because the brain's a funny thing, and it sabotages you a lot of the time, doesn't it? So maybe it could be that, but I don't see them getting over this.
No.
You know, I mean, it's not like just liking one particular food group or not. Because it's funny, there were little things that she was saying, Zoe, that you could tell there were a lot of conversations that were happening off camera. Like, what did she say? Something about egg periods or chicken periods or something like that. It's like, all right, yeah, that's they've obviously had the eggs discussion. So I don't know. I just don't think they'll work. I agree with you, Chris, but I don't particularly sit in Jenna's camp. I don't sit in Zoe's camp. But all I can do is just talk to my own experience, where people get angry and have a real chip on their shoulder about what I choose to put in my body. Whereas before they knew that, they didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. 100%, we've both experienced that, and I just think it's fucking weird. Whether it's vegan or veggie, it's fucking weird how people just don't get it. You know what I mean? Or don't understand it, or not. They don't have to understand it if they don't want. But just why that fucking bothers them, I do not know. It's just nonsense to the way and that used about the brain failing you. It's just people's behaviour at times is ridiculous. So this one, for me, this is a dead in the water, because they're just not going to go. You know, just always say, like, I'm going to have a fucking 10-ounce fucking ribeye steak or something. Well, Jenna's not going to sit there and let her eat that in a restaurant, is she? Or chicken? Or not that she's not going to let her eat it, but she's certainly not going to sit there. She obviously is a proper animal rights supporter, and that, which is great. You know, no problem with that. But the dynamic of that relationship's just not there. And I think that's more of an excuse, if I'm being honest, Dave. I think that's more. It's something that is pulling them apart. But there's probably other issues that we don't see. You know what I mean?
I just don't know. I think. This early in the relationship as well, I know it's a bit of an artificial experiment, isn't it? You know, shoving people together, but, the experts, Chris, as I do the quote fingers, have chosen them to go together for a reason. But for this to be a reoccurring big deal so early on in the relationship, it just says to me they've got no chance. I mean, look, you might get to the end of the series, they've decided to bury the hatchet. Might even go away for a couple of years, Chris. It will fucking come back.
Yes.
I remember, back in the days when I was in a horrible marriage, I remember, like... Fucking, I like red wine, Chris. In fact, I'd go as far as say I fucking love red wine. I love a glass of red wine, and sometimes when I've had a shit day at work, I like a glass or two of the red, and it just it chills me out very, very quickly. Not saying it's a great habit, but that's just me. That's my choice, and it became this huge thing, right? Because the other person really didn't agree with that. I don't know why. Don't know why they suddenly took offence to it. But so it became this big thing. And I'd have my glass in my hand. You can't see me now, but if you imagine, I've got my glass in my hand and I'm slowly raising it up to my lips. And I can feel the eyes burning into the side of my head. It's like... Is he really going to fucking drink that wine? What a cunt,
So you did anyway.
And so I kind of revelled in it a bit more. But a stupid little thing like that just becomes a massive thing. So if you've got something that's massive right from the start, and it's about values, it's not about, do you like fucking pizza or not? It's bigger than that. I just think that there's just no chance. But I have to say, I'm bored of it now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It just fucking, this is the thing, they don't agree on this. I don't need, honestly, to see Zoe and Jenna anymore. It's just, that's the end of it for me.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where I am. I'm like, we've had this discussion now for nearly 2 weeks. It's not getting anywhere. Just fucking move on. That's it. You go or whatever. So yeah, no, good point. Good point. Now, Dave, one of the couples this week as well that I've been laughing at and thinking, what is going on here? And again, the experts, fuck a doodle do. I say it every fucking series. They get one couple right out of all of them. Their percentage of wins is like your Casamorian predictions, Dave. It's like, 1 in 1 in 10. But you've got Tasha and Kwame, who are just not compatible at all. She said it, hasn't she? She's a very sexualized person. She wants that affection. We talked about it. Obviously, she is not his type. He literally said it from the start. Last week we got that little flash with Whitney. Nothing seems to have happened with that this week. Whether we get a bit of a revelation as a MAFS special, I don't know. But throughout the week, I was laughing when her pants split and she was twerking. It did seem a bit of a setup, if I'm being honest. And he said something like, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, there's a hole, and she went, you're damn right there is. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he went, no, your pants are split. I was just like, oh my, she's like, and she just carried on laughing and her arse is hanging out sort of thing. But then obviously she comes to the thing and she's got this pretty proper outfit on, hasn't she? And
that's one way to describe it.
Yeah, she's got this outfit, and then Kwame he's playing it. I don't like his approach at times, Dave. It seems very chauvinistic, if I'm being honest, especially towards her and some of the comments. And he had a dust up with Shanita as well, didn't he? Which I thought was a bit out of order, and we'll get to that. But I don't know. He has an arrogance about him at times that I don't think he's aware of. But it's well within his right to say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? I just don't think sometimes his delivery is right in what he says. He'll come out with some really good stuff because obviously with like his age and experience, but then he has this real, I don't think he treats her right at times. So that I just don't think these two are compatible at all.
No, I agree. And like you say, when he rattled off all the people that, he fancies, famous people, none of them, are like Tasha. So, Tasha, Keisha. Coming back to the Bachelorette there. Now, Chris, just let me get the spotlight here and let me get my popcorn. What do you think about what Kwame said in response to the reason that they haven't been intimate yet? And Kwame said, because of me. And obviously that ruffled some feathers. What do you think, Chris, about that?
This is a fucking tyro. Why have you done this to me? So, I think, truthfully, hand on heart, he hasn't been in control of that. I really do. From what we've seen, I believe that.
He has, or he hasn't. It sounded
no,
like
he has.
Hasn't. Yeah.
No, he has. I think he has. And I think Tasha's reaction was a defensive reaction and a good one as well. She's like, I'm a bitch boss and all this. I'll decide. It's not just you who decides, but the dialogue we've had from her says otherwise, what they've shown on the show. So I think he was right, but why the fuck would you even say that, Dave? You know what I mean? Like, what is he to gain from saying such a stupid comment? Because he just got a backup, and that put more of a divide between him as a couple. So yeah, I didn't get it. I do think from what we've seen, yes, he is in control of that, because I think she is more open to having that physical relationship, but obviously, what I just don't understand. That's what I'm saying when this arrogant side comes out. That's not the sort of dialogue you want to be using if you want to have and forge a relationship with someone.
Yeah, very good response. I agree with that. I think I actually do think what he was saying was right. But Christ, in a group setting, he's just pretty much humiliated her. So,
yes.
The response you know, like you say, was a defensive one. But, like you say, everything that we've seen up to, you know, I know it's edited, but everything that we've seen, it is him who's putting the brakes on. And that is absolutely fine. And I think, Chris, he was trying to be diplomatic there. I do think it was a massive failure. But I do think he was trying to be diplomatic. Yeah, didn't go well.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And one of the couples like who made me laugh this week. I know you said Bilbo Baggins, but fucking Richie and Lara. I mean, that poor woman. She's on her fucking knife edge, isn't she? And he is oblivious, Dave. And obviously, I've got to say this. It's awful. It was a revelation this week, but I've got a feeling that he's read about how to have sex, Dave, off the back of a fucking Beano fucking comic or something, because by the sounds of it, he wasn't doing the things he should have been doing. So that was a big... And he's a fucking oblivious, and he's like, oh yeah, she's the one for me, you know. She's not Richie, she really isn't, pal. So what a fucking
he's such
weird...
a Johnny Tryhard. Thing is, Chris, with Richie, right? Richie is basically Jay from The In-Betweeners when he's 50. You think about, you know, all the fake people and the people who are there to make it and stuff. But for me, he's the thirstiest out of the lot. I just think that, I was thinking the same as you. You know, was she giving him a bit of direction? It's like, do it that way, do it this way, or whatever. Well, Chris, I got a little bit of tea there, because on her Instagram, all she said was that she likes lazy sex in the morning and energetic sex in the evening, and then he went off on one.
Why?
So I don't know, but the thing is, right, exactly. There's the question here, why? But don't forget about his reaction when he found out she had kids, and he's like, "Ooh, I mean, that's a big thing." It's like, you're 50, mate. What the fuck do you expect? Do you expect some fucking virginal bride that that you're going to rock up with and like start a family with? I just think the guy is so deluded. But ultimately, you know, that was never going to work. Didn't like how, you know, he's been a right fucking mad ass, wasn't he? You know, when they walked in separately on the dinner party and like saying, "Oh, I don't give a fuck, mate," you know me. And he was just being a bellend, and she was actually just being quite, you know, we'll talk about this later kind of thing. But ultimately the right decision. But again, he seems like massively surprised by it. It's like, oh, I can't believe it. You know, it's just like, mate, you need help, Jay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing is, Dave, since he got the guitar out, and I was cringing on that first episode when we met him, and I kept saying, Sam, going, no, he's going to get the guitar, he's going to get the, oh my God, and I was hid behind the fucking, and we were watching it in bed, and we hid behind my fucking pillow, like, oh my God, and he's done it, and he's just David Brent. He's just like, he has no... Yeah. You know, if anyone's seen The Office, the English Office with Ricky Gervais, David Brent is one of the most socially awkward people, and especially around women. He's so misogynistic, but he doesn't want to be. He wants to be with someone. He's lonely, and he just wants to be appreciated, you know. And obviously, the arc of his character eventually, that there is a bit of success for him when he's just being himself. He's not being the bravado and trying to be something that he's not. And I think that's what it is with Richie. Richie's obviously chased that dream, Dave. You know, we did it on a smaller level. I know you were in original bands, so you have more thingy than I was, because I was just in one cover band. But when you're chasing that dream of success in rock and all that, and I'm sure Dave, he had plenty of groupies and stuff, you know, and he probably filled his boots, but he never had any emotional connections, and it's showing.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that he did. I don't believe that he had girls like flocking this fucking no mark band. I'm sure he had some, no doubt, but not. They say he's not fucking Mick Jagger or something, you know. But I think in his head he is. But he is. You nailed on with the David Brent thing, because David Brent was in a band, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, foregone conclusion. And he's still chasing that dream. He's still got the fucking hair and everything that he's still like, you know, at some point I'm going to break it and make it, you know. So it's just such nonsense.
It's weird because a guy I know's in a band, and he actually put, last night I've got gigs, I've got back-to-back gigs and blah, blah, blah. And I said to Sam, we were driving and I went, you know what, the thought of even going out when I know I'm going home to put my pyjamas on and drink some Prosecco, the thought of having to load up my car, drive 40, 50, 60 miles, whatever, for literally, especially the price of petrol now, for petrol money, and you're stone cold sober, leaving a gig at like 1, 2 in the morning, you're not sleeping, and I thought, you know what, I've not done it for twice, and I was like, what was I thinking, even fucking trying to chase that dream again last, like Christmas just gone? It fills me with dread, and fair play to people who still do it, but I just couldn't do it. I think the nostalgia got the better of me there, Dave. I think that the full stop has finished on that little avenue I tried to explore. But yeah, you're right. It's quite a lonely place though, being in a band, isn't it? When you're driving up and down them motorways like we've done, and we're all together as a group when we're at the venue, but when you're going home on your own, which you do, we always have a procession of cars, didn't we? And then we'd split off depending on where we all lived and stuff. It is quite lonely when you're going home and you're driving. That high of if you've had a great gig, he's then thinking, and I think he's quite a lonely person, Dave. I just think that having a little bit of experience of that, you know what it's like. I know what it's like. There's a high of being in a band, and it's great when everyone loves you and you've hundreds of people cheering and that, oh, you're great, best band ever. As soon as you finished, everyone fucks off. No one's helping you pack your gear up. You're doing it yourself. You know, you're just a normal person at the end of that gig. So I think he's got a real touch of loneliness, but I think that being in a band for all that years, there's just a social awkwardness that he hasn't been able to sort of get around. But yeah, I think it was the right decision for them to go. And like you say, when he was shocked, like, you for real? You know, like,
yeah.
What? But yeah, weird.
And the other couple that we lost, Chris, was Jess and PJ. I mean, what do you reckon to those two?
Oh, well, Jess is going to pop up on every fucking reality show she can get her hands on, without a doubt. This was just purely leverage for her to get into these. She'll be on X on the Beach. She'll be on all of them, Dave. I can guarantee it. PJ, I thought was a star man. I thought he was a lovely guy. And I'll tell you what, Dave, I'm fucking jumping in here, but PJ's career as an exotic dancer, you know, they were saying stripper and stuff. You know, obviously it isn't, as we said before, it's not a working man's club with someone fucking putting sig things out on his fucking house or anything. He's you know, it's high quality stuff. He's earning a good fucking career out of it. Not that he can smoke in pubs anymore, Dave, working men's clubs, but he's not like he's in some desolate thing. He's obviously getting paid well. That's why he doesn't want to do something else, and why should he? And I don't know what I said before, I don't know how to be, but Dave, and I thought he got the rough end of the stick. It was the right thing to do, let's go. But what about the news of Duca, Dave?
Yeah.
So Duca and Whitney, and Duca's got an OnlyFans page. He's a stripper. It's sort of like his sounds more fucking seedy than fucking PJ's. It sounds like he is fucking offering a bit of fucking action in the changing rooms or something, because it's fucking, he's got an OnlyFans. I can't remember what they're called. Something like the fucking, not the Dream Boys, but it's something dodgy.
I thought it was Dream Boys.
Is it the Dream Boys?
Not the original,
not the proper Dream Boys, but it's
like that, yeah.
Yeah, these pictures online of him, like with like a hat over his fucking modesty sort of thing, with no clothes on. So he kept that from Whitney. So he's obviously, I still say what Whitney said. He's right. He's chasing everything. It's just purely I know we say that about most contestants on this show. But
they all are.
But I think
the majority.
I do think Whitney has intentions of not, there is a bit of thing that she wants a bit of love. She knows that it's going to raise her profile, whereas I just don't believe this Duke Dave. He's dressed like he's fucking, it reminded me of the other day, he's got the fucking, the turtleneck fucking jumper on, the glasses. He looked like some fucking movie star from the 80s or something. I was like, no, I'm not buying him. I don't like him. I don't know what it's not like him. But anyway, back to Jess and PJ.
We can put a pin in Duca and Whitney.
Yes.
We'll come back to them. For Jess and PJ, I do think he came across quite well. Yeah. And I think, honestly, she just, as soon as she found out about the stripper thing, that was it. It was dead. She judged him for that, and then it was all over.
Yeah.
Now, again, bit of tea, Chris. She's come out and said that PJ has had a girlfriend on the outside all the time. Now, that's just her saying that. I don't know how she would know that or find that out after. Maybe it's a discussion they had. She didn't really back it up with any evidence. Obviously, PJ's not there to defend himself. I just don't know how to process that. It comes across to me like she's searching for something. But, I mean, obviously, it could be true. But the way it looked, just going off the show, was that, she had these, she judged him for being a stripper, and then that was it. It was just, there was nothing ever going to happen. So again, I just think it was the right call for both of them.
Yeah, I do, unless he's done a bit of a Grant Craps thing to raise his profile, like Love Island, I don't know. But I don't know, Dave. I mean, if he has, then fair enough, it was the right decision all round. It doesn't excuse it if he's, but... It is what it is. I thought he come across quite genuine, to be honest. I thought he bent over backwards and tried to do, in the context of the show, he tried to do everything he could to make that relationship work. And I didn't like the way she was, but what I didn't like is when she was saying there's nothing there between us in a group setting. And if that had been reversed and a guy had been saying that about a lady, they'd have been hell to pay. I'm sure the experts that had laid into the guy for saying, like, I don't find her attractive, blah, blah, blah. It's the sort of conversation you don't say in front of people, but Jess was just sort of happy to go down that route with him.
Actually, you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I guess, Kwame's been vilified a little bit for what he said, but he was trying to tactfully dance around the fact that, he doesn't fancy Keisha, does he?
No.
That's the truth. But he's been vilified for what he said. And yet, if he'd have said something like the equivalent of what Jess had said, he probably would have got fucking pelters, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Kwame likes to dig his own grave anyway, because when
you can just see it like a meme of someone just digging away, just oblivious, like, I've got this, I'm fucking nailed it. I mean, smooth words and everything are coming out, and everyone's just lapping it up while he's digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole.
He don't give a fuck. I mean, when he, Jordan and Sheeta, what's she called, Jordan's girlfriend? How are you getting the bloody name wrong, Dave? Shanita. And they had this discussion, didn't they, around the table about, she said she thinks she's got ADHD, and it really upset Jordan. Like we've talked about ourselves, haven't we? We've both discussed this, but he really got upset, which is his prerogative, no problem. And I think she's looking at it from the perspective of what a job is and saying, like, he sees it as a criticism. I think she's just saying, I think you've got to touch, but I think everyone has. We've talked about this loads, but then Kwame goes, don't diagnose him, like, really lazy. And she's like, don't do this to me. And they all storm off. And I was like, this is what I'm here for. Pure pathetic drama. This is what I want. People storming off. I don't know where I stand with it, because Jordan got really upset with that and really, like, they've gone from being like the couple I thought would make it to thinking, I don't think they will now. I was convinced, but there's some proper frailties going on there.
I think there's some things they need to tackle. So one of the things that really jolted with me, I think, or jarred with me, is the way Shanita, like, she'll put him down. And I don't even think she's... I don't think she's deliberately doing it. But you know, some people, just everything's negative, isn't it? You say something, oh, what a lovely day. Yeah, but it's going to rain later. That's a lovely car. Yeah, I don't like the bumper though. You know, there's some people who just always come back and express the negative, you know. And she, when they're on the couch and, you know, they seem to be going really well. But, like, what was it? She said, was it at the dinner party where she was going that, you know, he's like a little puppy. And, you know, everyone has a bit of a laugh. And then she's like, yeah, but sometimes you need a Labrador. You know, and it's like, he's sat right there. These are fucking hurtful things that you are saying. And, like, just because he is this little puppy and he seems to be brushing this stuff off, he's not. Every fucking hit there lands. And so I'm afraid, like, people like Shanita don't realise, I don't think, that those hurtful, snipey little comments all take a toll. And, you know, eventually it'll get through. And it'll present itself that it's got through, but you won't notice it initially because she'll keep throwing out these barbs, and he'll brush most of them off, or he'll appear to brush most of them off.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that could be one as we go to see. It might be the making of them as a couple, Dave. I do think they are the most compatible from the start. There was a genuine love. There was a genuine sort of connection. They were laughing and joking, weren't they, taking the piss out of each other. It wasn't dead intense, but it just seemed to be they loved each other's company. But no, I think that's a good way of putting it, to be fair. But Dave, what about Thomas and Adrian? I've got to say, Thomas has got one of the best minds for one-liners. He's like a fucking, you know, it's the typical thing they say about people from Liverpool. I know you're a Liverpool fan, of, you know, connection with Liverpool, but, you know, everyone's a comedian. But his wit he's almost a bit like, he reminds me a little bit of Paul, you know, like Lily Savage, like Paul...
Grady, is it?
Paul O'Grady.
Paul O'Grady.
You know, that sort of wit, that real... He's quick off the mark and everything, and he's got some great one-liners, but what a complex character. And I think Adrian, it's fair play to him, he just wants an easy life, and he sang for him this week, and I'll mention it earlier, and all that. But their relationship, when they come on screen, I can't wait to hear what's happening next, because this just, and Thomas is just going for the Oscar nomination every time he gets a platform, doesn't he? I mean, when they was sat with he's had a lot of problems, and I can't relate, like he said, him and Adrian was saying it about, like, you know, you were singled out when you were gay and stuff like that, and it must be awful, you know, getting beat up. He was physically, mentally abused. I can't imagine, because of your sexuality, so I don't want to even comment or, you know, say the wrong thing there, but I do think, I do like Thomas, because as soon as he gets that little bit of star power, the little bit of the spotlight on him, Dave, there's a full fucking Oscar nomination going in. He's there, the tears come, you know, he wants everyone piled around him. But as a couple, I think when they're together, they're really good. But Adrian does hold him to account, and he'll say to him, like, oh, here we go, it's the fucking Thomas show. Because he was saying to Thomas, why the fuck are you getting involved in all these arguments? And he's like, well, I'm not having it. And he's like, but it's nothing to do with you.
It was within my earshot.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's a great character, Dave. I think I've warmed to him as the episodes have gone on, because he's just fucking ridiculous. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant contestant. But I don't think these two will stay together. I really, really don't. I think Adrian's at the end of his fucking tether, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there. I think you can tell with Thomas, I've met plenty of Thomases, you can tell it doesn't matter that there's a camera there. I mean, he'll play up a bit to the camera, but if there's a group there, he'd play up to it the same, you know, and drama follows him. It gravitates to him. You know, it's just, he's never going to escape it, because he's always in the thick of it. I do think that, you know, Adrian is just more kind of laid back, and as a couple, they won't make it. But I have to say, Chris, out of all of the contestants here, you know, if you're going to see someone make a reality career out of this,
it's him.
You know, it's got to be him. Because, like you say, I thought in the first week, I thought he came across horribly. And, you know, obviously that's where I was born. I've got, you know, a love for it, you know. So I wanted to root for him, but I just couldn't. But like you, I've kind of warmed to him. He's great entertainment to have on a show like this. I haven't got a fucking clue what has gone on between him and April. There's clearly something there, but I don't think he's quite. I want to say I don't think he's quite sharp enough to manipulate situations. But I do think April is. The fact that she didn't go to that dinner party, I don't think is really. I don't think is by mistake. She didn't seem that ill to me. It just seemed a bit strange. But look, it looks like April and Thomas have been, gossiping about Shanita. Whoever was saying, whatever. But Thomas has caught the flack for it. It was Thomas bad-mouthing Shanita, and Thomas has thrown April under the bus, and then after that, April's thrown Thomas under the bus. It's like, God, this is fucking great. I love it. This is the sort of nonsense drama that I love with this show.
Yeah, because someone's lying, ultimately. She's saying it's him, he's saying it's her. We're not going to get to the bottom of it, but I do think, I made me laugh, Dave, the fucking experts again, and I just, every time, look, anyone who's listening, every time I say experts, I say it with the fucking quotation fingers, because they're fucking useless. I say it every episode. And fucking George goes over to have a chat with Thomas, like, yeah, she's not here. This is not a discussion when she's not here. And it's like, they're like, yes, George. The experts are fucking tossing themselves off, going, oh, that is what a partnership. No, it's not. George is a fucking wet lettuce. As soon as Thomas went, no, I'm not speaking to you, George, in that tone, and he turned his back to him. Fucking George fucked off with his tail between his legs. I don't think George was sticking up for April. He was like trying to get involved in stuff, and his hair on his shoulder. I'm thinking, George, fuck off. You threw April under the bus because she pecked some girl on the fucking lips, and you went round the whole room. Whether it's right or wrong, we know you've got battle scars. You are not. But I didn't understand the experts. So I was like, George is doing nothing. He's trying to be the hero for the cameras. Say, I'm sticking up for my girlfriend. But he wasn't. He was just fucking purely doing it just to get involved in this shit. And I was like, I just think Thomas dealt with it so fucking... It was like a soap opera, Dave, like you say. It was so pathetic. It was like being at school, wasn't it? It was like, oh, he's just said that about... Oh, well, I'm not having that. And everyone just starts fucking getting involved, and you can see the whole... But you could see, like, Kwame sat there like, what the fuck am I doing, sat here? What is going on here?
No, I had a similar reaction to what the experts were saying, but I saw it in a slightly different way to you. I did think at the time, the experts are like, oh, it's great, he's standing up for April and blah, blah, blah. I thought, I didn't like the way George behaved, to be honest, because everything he stated was as an instruction. And he was like, this ends now. And no one was listening to him, but he was sort of like being the teacher. It's like, who the fuck are you? He just thought... He thought he was the captain of the ship or something, and he's just giving everyone an instruction of what to do. I didn't like that, really didn't like that. And the fact that, he is complex because he's fucking, like you say, he's having his cry, oh, she's been intimate with someone. Chris, you say that. Someone's been shagging for me. That's what you mean. Yeah. And he's crying himself like that is what's happened. And you find out they had a bit of a kiss. Now, depending on who you listen to or what you read, it was a bit of a peck. It was a bit of a saucy kiss. Who fucking cares? It was a kiss. And the way he overreacted to it, but then... I just didn't like the way he was barking at people, and I thought he just looked like a bit of a bell end, sort of, that's the way it came across to me. I mean, George and April, they look great together. Again, for me, it's a couple on the no fucking chance pile.
Yeah, I think so. And I think what you said about Thomas is so, if you think about a show that's been resurrected next year, Dave, Big Brother, Thomas would be absolute
I would be
darling.
Fucking all over it, to be honest.
He would be the perfect contestant. If he pops up on there, I mean, I'm going to watch it anyway, but he will be the fucking perfect guy just to stir every bit of shit, stand up for himself, not stand any messing from people. Yeah, he is that fodder. But yeah, I think you're right, Dave. I think that the way that was framed with George, you hit a good point there. George reminded me of like a supply teacher when they'd come in one and go, right, everyone put your books on, and be like, fuck off. What were you doing last episode? Watching telly? No, you wasn't. What were you doing? We didn't do it. Have you got any homework? No, I don't have homework, mate. You know, you just like, fuck off. Who the fuck are you? So, yeah, you're right.
Sorry, you just reminded me there. There's a few moments from school. I mean, some of the fucking classes I was in were fucking rough. I remember being in this German class, and I joined German like a year later. I'd only been doing French before, so I had no fucking chance. It was ridiculous, really, to even put me in that class. But I couldn't quite understand it. But for whatever reason, this guy teacher, everyone used to take the piss out of him. He was one of those, you know, everyone on the school ground knew, like, he was soft as shit, wouldn't do anything. And I could never figure it out. I was like, well, he just seemed like every other teacher to me. But, you know, everyone was like fucking... The classes were just carnage. Absolute fucking carnage. And then it would get to such a point and he'd eventually do something. And I just remember this guy, I think it was Steve, and he called him to the front of the class. But then everyone, like, there's no way you didn't hear this from the rest of the school. Everyone's like, whoa, you know, and then you had the old wooden tables, so they're banging the tables, so I was like, ding, 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 whoa. Yeah. And then he gets to the front of the class, and then he just shows him the door. Well, it was like a fucking football match, Chris. It was like, off, 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 off. So loud. And I just remember thinking, I am never being a fucking teacher at all. There's no way. I mean, in that moment, and even then, Chris, the teachers could give you, you know, a little bit of a dig and no one would say anything. You know, maybe it was that. Maybe it was because he didn't, you know. But you just reminded me of that, like with George. That's how he is, you know. He's trying to, you know, present authority, but whatever it is about him, he's just a wet lettuce.
You know, I've got some terrible stories about school, Dave.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's probably quite tame in comparison.
Some really bad ones. But let's not talk about them, Dave. Anyway, let's move on. But anyway, so we get two new couples, Dave. And the one I wanted to talk about first, the main event has got to be Gemma and Matt. But Sophie and Jonathan. So Sophie, I've got a real problem with Sophie. So Sophie's the rich kid who apparently is like fucking, you know, Alan Sugar or whoever. You know, she's got this high-powered job in Manchester, Dave. Now, I live in Manchester all my life. I've worked in Manchester in the city centre. All right, I'm out on the streets and I'm doing bits. I'm not in an office or anything like I was years ago. I get my hands dirty, but she's talking about this scene on Manchester, right? And I'm like, what fucking scene? Manchester doesn't have an after-work scene like fucking London. There might be a few. It's not like London. You know Manchester. You lived there for a long time, Dave, and it hasn't really changed. You know, the city's gone up. There's a few high-rise buildings and all this, but it's not really changed in itself and its identity. There's a couple of fucking knobby areas like Didsbury and stuff where the people, you know, are up their own arse sort of thing, because there's been a big influx of people from the BBC. So where I work in Salford Quays, the BBC is right there. The whole ITV, BBC, Coronation Street, you can see the Coronation, the actual street, the back of it from where I work. They're all within an area. There's loads of production company now. It's really nice. It's dead smart, like area, loads of bars and stuff. But it's not a scene. And she's talking like she's in London on the fucking stock exchange going out at night and that. And I'm like, you fucking pretentious prick. And then her mum and dad are there like, oh yes, well, you know, Sophie, you know, she wants someone like, but she's saying, I want someone who's different to me. So they bring Jonathan up, who's just a Yorkshire lad, carpenter. You know what I mean? His whole family have got a suspect fucking poodle, fucking Mark Hughes, fucking curly wig haircut, Craig Johnson from the 80s. His whole family, obviously, got this suspect fucking curly hair. But he's a good-looking lad. They're both good-looking people. Sophie's a good-looking girl, and he's a good-looking guy. Aesthetically, they look great. She said she fancied him. But as it went on, I was like... The fucking experts are like, yeah, she wants someone like this. And I'm like, oh, here we go. They're perfect for telly. But I was just like, fucking useless. They're fucking absolutely useless connection, I thought. But anyway, I really had a problem with Sophie saying about the scene in Manchester. And I was like, there's no fucking scene. And I'm air quoting now, Dave, with my fingers. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, I'd love to know which company it was. There are so many like software companies. I'm assuming when she says tech, that's what she means.
Yeah.
And so she's probably just part of one of those, like maybe a software company you've never actually heard that deals with tracking widgets or something like that. But you know what? A lot of no, honestly, there really are. There are loads of these companies about. But the bit that made me laugh, I mean, some of the setup, when we watch all of these shows, and you can almost see the producers behind the camera, like, giving them direction and whatever. But when they were having tea, it's like, did you get that promotion you went for? Oh, yes, I did. It's like, oh, right, really? That's the first time you've discussed it, is it? It's just so set up. It just really jarred with me like a fucking electric shock. It was so bad. Now, the thing I'd say, that is definitely the way they edited her. They remind me, and I can't remember the names, but there was the Australian couple, wasn't there, where they came in quite late, and he just kept throwing her under the bus because he said, "Well, you said we should stay together just to stay on the show."
The Viking guy, wasn't it? That girl.
Yeah. And she's like, and he comes back from the toilet. She's like, "Well, did you wash your hands?" He's like, "Yeah." Well, can I smell him? With soap. It's like, to be honest, the way Sophie comes across was that, but I do think they've deliberately edited her like that. But like you say, all of the words that she says, like they've picked someone who fits her description. But the problem is, there's so much more, and that's why the experts are so full of shit, isn't it? Because this is definitely a couple that they're just fucking with. There's no way they're actually thinking, yeah, these will make a good couple here. Because whether she's looking for someone or looking for some exposure or whatever, she's in that space. She's in that tech space. She's going to be tech savvy and everything. Now, Selby is not the forefront of the tech industry. It's about as far as you can get from there. And you got this very, laid back kind of, I mean, he's unbelievably handsome, isn't he? But, he's a joiner. They're just from different worlds. And they're just not going to make it at all, And the problem is, by putting these two together, she is going to come across as being stuck up.
Yeah.
And she's set up for failure.
Yeah, I agree, Dave. And obviously, like you said, it's a very good point, actually. You've always got to have a baddie and a goodie, haven't you, in these situations. He just seems like he hasn't got a care in the world, and he'll just go with it. But
likes his Haribos. I can.
Well, now wrong with that.
Get behind him with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I felt her family though. She's obviously from a sort of upper class upbringing, and the family straight away. But I'll tell you what, we never talk about, and this is especially with Sophie and that as well. It's the fucking way they break it to the families. Now, I know, you know what I mean? I know we mentioned it briefly, but it pisses me off with MAFS. I must admit, this is the one thing with MAFS that annoys me. It's the different camera angles when they tell him, I've got something to tell you. Hang on a minute, there's a fucking film crew just rocked up at my door randomly. You've not been giving any warning. Yeah, you've not been giving any warning, and they've just rocked up. Bullshit. You've known for weeks are coming. She or he may have been told you're not allowed to tell them So we
Yeah.
filmed that organic shot. Fair enough. But they must know something's going on. Or you're not telling me, unless they've not told the family that they've applied for a TV show, and then they're there rocking up because I think it was Jonathan's mum. Or it might be Sophie's mum, where they did it from about 3 angles, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. You'd see the camera in shot there, the way the way she's like, what? And I'm like, bullshit. That's the one thing on MAFS. I love the show. I really do. But that bit pisses me off because it's so fucking fake. It's like, obviously I've got fucking a whole massive HGV outside with camera crews and everything and fucking lighting.
The whole rig.
Yeah, the whole street's been disrupted. But why? What are you doing? It's like, come on. I don't know. That bit just fucking winds me up somewhat rotten every time I watch it. I just think, but like the Bachelor, Dave, when you get the knock on the... Remember Tasha's season? Her dad knocks on the door, she opens it, and then the camera's behind her, and the cameraman behind him's disappeared. She's like, come on in. It's like, fuck off. Only takes...
I think with all of these shows, I wonder if there's any where they aren't doing things multiple times.
Yeah.
For different shots. I can't think of one that comes across really authentically. I think they all do it. I think sometimes you can just see the joins a little bit more.
Yeah, I do. So, Dave, I've left these on purpose to the end. Gemma and Matt, 2 hairdressers, 2 tattoo lovers. He's ex-army. She is, Dave, I've got me and Sam were laughing watching her. Sam said, have you got a number? Because she's like, I want sex. I want it all the time. She said she was going to sit on his fucking face. I was like, what? I thought it's every man's fucking dream. And Sam's laughing going, have you got a number off the production or what? And I was like, how dare you? I'm a one-woman man, if you don't mind. But no, I've got a little story. So me and Sam were laughing. We were watching it. And Sam's like, that must be every man's dream. And I said, it is. I said, however, there's a guy I know, a friend of mine, this is God's honest truth. He was married to a lady who had an insatiable, I can't even word this right. Thirst for my friend. And literally, day, evening and night, she wanted action off him, Dave. Now, normally you'd be like, fucking yes, get in there, you know what I mean, in my eyes anyway, Dave, but you'd be like, yes, God, brilliant, yeah, you're having action all day long. He said it was the worst fucking time of his life. He said, you think as a man that you want, or most men, you want sex on tap all the time. You want, to be at it all the time. That's the dream. He went, I tell you now, the dream is you're sore as fuck. You just want to fucking relax, and you can't. And he said, it's not fucking... he said, it isn't the dream. He actually divorced her, Dave. He said, I couldn't keep up. He said, they were together about 15 years. He said, and every day it was about 5 or 6 times a day. And I'm not bullshitting. And I was like, when he told me the story, I was like, fuck off. Bollocks. He went, I'm telling you. He went, the reality is not like the fucking dream. He said, I'm telling you.
The CIA have got it wrong,
Yeah,
they should try a different tactic.
But he come in, Matt. And you know what, Dave? I don't know what it is, but he had an edge about him, didn't he? Ex-army. I mean, them tattoos and that on his face. I've got a sleeve and everything, and I've got a few tattoos, but I'm not a fan of tattoos on your face. I'm really not. A man or woman. I'm not at all. I don't mind, it don't matter where you are, like men and women, all over your body. I don't know, but there's just something about putting it on your face. It screams to me, you've got some sort of trauma issues or something, or you're hiding away from something. It does
seem a little bit judgy, but I'm kind of with you.
No, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean there is inner there's inner trauma there. A lot of people have tattoos because of that. That's what it's about, the release of the pain. Funny enough, we were watching, this is bad this to admit this, but Sam watches Home and Away, the Aussie soap, and there's a guy on there at the moment who's ex-army, and he's having tattoos. The tattoos look like, they're obviously fake stick-on ones, because they look like fucking kids ones you got when you're about 6. But every time he has a bit of trauma, he gets this mobile tattooist to come and put a tattoo on him. So there's a bit of I only saw it the other day. I was like, what's he doing? Every time he's had a load of tattoos done on his body. Obviously, ripped up guy. He's actually Chris Hemsworth's cousin, funny enough, this kid in real life.
Hemsworth.
But yeah, he's not a Hemsworth, but he doesn't really look like him, but he's a good looking kid, you know what I mean? But so I always feel for people when they cover themselves in tattoos all over the face. I always, and Matt, he said, Dave, he's a unit, he's a good looking guy. You know what I mean? He seemed really sweet, like he was dead nervous and everything. And when they get together, and I'm not trying to be judgy, please don't think I'm being a dick. I don't mean that in a bad way. It might have sounded like that, I'm not. But when they get together, fuck me, Gemma, she might as well have just stripped off there and then. She was ready to fucking jump on him at the reception. Her mum, who she said, like, you know, she's my stepmum sort of thing, she was fucking saying, well, you'll be getting your fucking gear off later, mate. You know what he's like?
No, he's like, you're not helping, Mum.
I think it was almost like he was on for a fucking a double fucking bit of action. I think she wanted a bit of Matt as well, but it was just really intense, and I just saw it as a bit of joking, a bit of flirting, but I don't think he couldn't handle it, could he, at all? He was like, she needs to tone it down. But Dave, when she said, he's going to be sitting on my face later, I'm going to be sitting on his face, me and Sam, we absolutely were rolling. I spat my fucking Prosecco out, proper comedy timing, and then we watched Gogglebox, and it was on Gogglebox, and I love watching all the Goggleboxers' reaction. Oh, you got to watch it, Dave, it's fucking
I'm going to watch
brilliant.
that, definitely.
It was Friday's episode. It's so good. We were fucking crying. I thought it was the line of the series, but I don't think these are going to make it. I think there's a passion there, and she's obviously very highly sexually charged, but I don't know whether he wants that. I don't know, but fucking hell, it was great TV.
It was. I mean, at first, when they're going into their backstories and everything, I'm thinking, you know what, these look made for each other.
Me too, yeah.
And the fact that she says, you know, she's got very high sex drive and everything, I think that's one thing. I think the relentless machine gun innuendo is another thing entirely. And I think, you know, again, different people, but I think it's for that reason. I think he's a little bit more serious, isn't he? And I think, you know, with the innuendo, I think sometimes less is more. In fact, no, I always think less is more, like cheeky little suggestion. But like you say, when she's going on about sitting on his face, Chris, that wasn't even the worst. I think it was when she said, she was like, oh, what was it now? Something like, you'll have to get used to the smell of fish. I was just like, and she just fucking really said that. And I was like, he is not going to like that. No way. I was surprised that the mum was chipping in as well, but I was like, come on, that is too much. And that, honestly, I think that would put most blokes off, regardless of what happens behind closed doors, right? Being that vocal about it and being so fucking crass, come on, I mean, there's a fucking line there, isn't there? I just think that was too much for most blokes, and I think he's just going to be, it's going to turn him off.
Yeah, you know what, Dave, though, to be fair, she's just doing what most men do, isn't she, really? Let's be honest. She's sort of reversing it.
Well, really? Like at the fucking wedding, they really go, you'll be fucking, you know, I'll be fucking balls deep later, lads, you know, and, you know, it's fucking, all right, you've done with your speech now. I don't fucking think they do.
No, that's true.
I don't know, maybe they do, but...
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
No, I don't know. What an interesting character. And when she got on the bed and he's like, let's just savour our first time. She was like a little kid who got told she couldn't have a lolly from the shop. She's like, the shoulders slumped, didn't they? She's like, yeah. I can't wait to see what happens next week.
I must admit, I mean, it takes me a while to warm up to the new couples, but I do think they've placed them quite well, because for different reasons, like we've said about Sophie and, what was his name, Jonathan, was it?
Jonathan, yeah.
Yeah, and then Gemma and Matt. I think for different reasons they're going to be good entertainment. So I think they've done a good job with the casting there.
Yeah, because what it seemed to be is they've dropped, like Richie and Lara, there was nothing there, we could see that. They've gone. And usually when someone goes, there's a bit of a hangover, isn't there? Especially if they're sort of strong contestants. But PJ and Jess wasn't working. These have come in. I think these are far more interesting. Like you just said, for different reasons. So I'm all in. Like when they did it on the Aussie one, when we've watched that first Aussie season, I think it was season 8. And we weren't sure, were we? Because we'd not really watched the show from start to finish. We'd watched snippets here and there separately, nothing to do with the podcast. But when they come in, I was a bit unsure, like you say, about the Viking guy. And she's like, let's stay on another week and all this. And he didn't get involved. But the last series of the MAFS Australia we did, there was a couple of couples come in and they just integrated into the group really well. I think these are going to work really, really well. It's going to be great TV. So it's hotting up nicely, I think. I know a few people have been a bit sceptical over it, but I think it's just there. I don't. It's not at the level of MAFS Australia by any means at the moment, but there's enough people in there for that pin to be pulled out of the grenade and it just to go completely off at one of the dinner parties. So I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, our 15-minute podcasts clearly dictate that, don't they? So, I do think there's lots going on. I do think it's got a bit of an edge over last season that we watched in the UK. It's going to do well. I don't see how it can ever get to the heights of the Australian one. They just seem to nail the casting. There's something they're doing there that just makes it the premier show for me. But no, I'm really enjoying this season.
No, it's been good, mate. It's been good. So anyway, you're right. Our 50-minute podcast has become well over an hour, Dave. So it's time to go. So big thank you to everyone who supports us. And we're all back on track now, guys. If you want to email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media, @cdrealitycast. Please go to Facebook, Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We've got members joining there every day. We're trying to get up, not nearly, we're trying to get up to 400 followers on there. So get over there, guys. And there's loads of links to MAFS and the various shows that we cover from all our great listeners. So thank you, guys. If you want to support us a little bit more, get up to patreon.com/CD Realitycast. Big thank you to all our patrons, past and present. We do appreciate it, guys. And today's roll call of honour is Cassie, Megan, Katie, Annabeth, Maggie, I had a bit of a finger there, frog in my throat, Kristen, Zoe, Gillian, Michelle, Keith, Helen, Brianna, Jacqueline, Noreen, Amy, Joanna, Libby, Katie, Dee Dee, Hannah, Priscilla, Susan, Hennessy, Haley, Lauren, Lucky Lulu Green and Ken Gustafsson. So thank you so much, guys, for all your support. We say it every episode, but honestly, we really, really appreciate it. It's so nice, your support. And Dave, we are going into another week and I cannot wait. Now we're back on track. I am out. The Vegas and New York stuff is out of my system. We are looking at going Vegas next year again, Dave. So I am happy. Fucking cannot wait. But we're staying in Vegas only, not New York. We're just doing a full week in Vegas like we usually do. I can't believe I've got the okay, but Samantha is up for it, Dave. And while she's saying it, and I've said it on the podcast, she can't get it back track. So I'm doing everything in my power. But we're going to go, not going to go August, first week of September, because it was 45 degrees, Dave, and it was fucking like a bath. So we're going to go in October, I think, next year. But there you go.
Yeah, it is hot, isn't it? And it's when you're outside. So everywhere's so well air-conned, isn't it? You know, when you're inside. But if you do need to go for a bit of a walk, you realise it quite quickly, don't you, out there? But,
God, yeah, it's brilliant, brilliant. But thank you, mate.
Good.
Excellent stuff, and let's enjoy the rest of our weekend.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It's great to get caught up, and it's been great to speak to you about this. Like, we've nattered on, and it seems like we've only just scratched the surface as well. So I can't wait for next week. We're going to have some kind of challenges. We're going to have another dinner party, another grilling, commitment ceremony. So let's see how that all goes. So, Chris, thank you very much, sir, and thanks to everyone out there for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.